An art journal tutorial, Be a Mermaid by Creative Katie. That's me, Karen Burchell. Techniques in this video: collage and texture with paper towel, removing color through a stencil. And I'm using distress crayons for the first time. Don't forget to subscribe, that way you won't miss any of my upcoming videos. Speaking of which, check out the video series, Mixed Media Technique Tags and Happy Planner Meets Mixed Media. Here's a sneak peek with the finished page. Check the description box for links to products used in the video. So to get ready, I am coloring some paper towel with my acrylic, Liquitex Basics, and my Inktense blocks. I like the colors that I can get, the variety from the Inktense blocks, but I like using the acrylics because it adds a firmness and builds in a little extra texture to the paper towel. Make sure that you see the texture down the road. So while that's off completing to dry, I'm going to color some more. Now I cut these circles out first because I had a different plan. I was doing a different page because I wanted to use the circles from Mixed Media Technique Tag number 3. And I wasn't going to need them to be colored in that application. So I had them. So what I'm doing here is I'm just using up my small tubes of Liquitex Basics, and I'm just putting some blues, purples, greens, phthalo green on there and spraying it with water. And I'm just going to dip all these circles into the acrylic paint. I'm not looking for complete and total coverage. I'm quite happy if there's some white left off. And I really did get a very random look. If I was to do it again, I probably wouldn't put the paint as close together and just kind of dip it so that it wouldn't blend so well. Definitely, if I was doing it again, I would just do this to the paper towel and then cut out the circles. This got to be a pretty pitsy little job. But in the end, I liked how it turned out, so all's well that ends well. So off camera, I'm going to dry these up. So this is my Canson Mixed Media Journal, and I've applied a coat of gesso to it. Now I'm using this amazing netting stencil from Kaisercraft. I love it. It's one of my latest purchases, and it is very quickly becoming a fast favorite. Unfortunately, I grabbed the blue stays on instead of the black, so you don't see the netting as much as I would have liked, but now my quote has something about waves, so I'm going to do waves, and I'm unsure if I'm going to put color through the stencil or what technique I'm going to use. But I decide that I'm going to rip the paper towel, and I kind of want seaweed. Definitely going for an ocean theme here. And instead of cutting out the seaweed, I decide I'm just going to rip it to get that randomness. You can see the various shades of green that are on the paper towel. So I'm just playing around, ripping things, kind of getting an idea of how I'm going to compose this page. I've been really busy doing my technique tag videos and my happy planner videos that I haven't done much creating where I'm just doing a page just for the sake of doing a page. So when I got to it the other night, I was just loving it, and the creativity was flowing, and I was given 2 pages that I did very quickly, and there's the mermaid. And mermaids are all the rage. So I have a couple different mermaids cut out with my Silhouette Cameo that I bought cut files for. So I'm still thinking about what I want to do with that stencil. And I decide that I'm going to use my distress crayons. Now I purchased these because I kind of like them, and I like the feel of them better than the gelatos. But you know me, I don't particularly like my gelatos and my gel sticks. So I thought I'd give these a try. So I bought a few that are all close together on the color wheel. That way I could at least use them for a spread like this. And that's a good tip if you're buying a selection of colors, but you can't afford all of them. Buy 2 or 3 that go together well so that you can use them together. You'll probably use them more and go from there. Now the distress crayons, sorry, you need to rub them fairly quickly, or you have to reapply more crayon to it. And I'm adding a little bit of water to help blend them. And I'm just using a brush because I didn't like the fingerprints that it was leaving. So I'm just kind of mixing it up, blending the paints from there. I absolutely like the feel of the Distress crayon compared to the gelatos or the gel sticks. I found the gelatos and gel sticks, they have that waxy texture. These I don't find have that. And I like the shape of them better. They also, if you spray water on it, it's not going to activate it unless you go and you move that water. So you have a little bit added protection against little oopsies along the way. So what I'm going to use here is a technique where I'm going to remove some of the Distress crayon with a baby wipe through a stencil. So this is really, you're adding interest to your page by subtraction. So it's addition by subtraction. I'm just taking a peek to see what's happening back behind. So I want kind of a wavy, watery look. So some places I'm taking the Distress crayon right off, so it's right to the white. Other places I'm not. Where I take off more, the netting stamp is showing up, and I love that. All in all, I'm really enjoying the background that's created with this technique, with the Distress crayons and this technique. Now I'm still debating whether I'm going to move the stencil a little bit more and apply white paint through the stencil to add a little bit more of the waves. But I'm unsure, so I get busy doing something else. Decide that I'm going to put my seaweed back into play. And I'm really liking how the green of the seaweed is playing off the green that's in the water. I'm just loving this background. It's just dreamy. And there's the other mermaid. At this time, I wasn't sure which mermaid I wanted to go with. So there are the cut circles, and I'm playing with, again, the composition. I'm not exactly sure how I want to set this up. So since I cut this out of blue cardstock or manila tag, I'm just giving it a coat of black gesso. You could use black acrylic paint as well. I'm just going to set that aside to dry. And you can see I hole punched some of the paper towel or colored paper towel aside because I'm going to add those little bubbles as well. So we've got the bubbles, we have the seaweed, we have the waves. We're all very much at the sea. There's my Liquitex gel medium almost to the end. I kind of got to the end and there's some on the side, so I've been spraying it a little bit of water and putting the lid on, and that's kind of softened it up a little bit and allowing me to use that. So unless I get in there and really start rubbing on the Distress crayon background, it isn't going to move. So I can be a little freer here with putting on the gel medium, that it's not going to reactivate and make a mess and ruin my beautiful background. So I'm layering some of the paper towel and just trying to be random and not predictable with it. Excuse me. I'm trying to put some higher, some lower. different shades of green. So I'm going to put a link to a mixed media technique tag video where I show different ways of using paper towel to get texture. On this spread, I'm using the paper towels not only for texture, but to collage with, because I'm creating items on part of my focal point with the paper towel as well. I'm not sure if my mermaid is just going to sit there. It looks kind of funny. She's not really sitting on anything. Is she going to sit on the seaweed? How am I going to do that? So I avoid it. I get moving on other things. So I'm deciding where I want the words to go and the placement of the bubbles that I cut out with the paper towel. And then I decide that I'm getting another piece of paper towel and I'm coloring it a combination of grays and browns with acrylic paint and Inktense blocks. I think I get out some white gesso to make it a little bit more gray later because the white Inktense block wasn't quite giving me the color that I wanted. So yeah, there we are. Now while I cut the shape of this rock or outcropping that the mermaid is going to sit on, you'll see in a minute that I end up ripping this up and applying that to make the mound that she sits on. And the reason for that is that that's just going to build in just that next level of texture. So I drew a line about where I wanted the rocks to be, and I'm trying to make it a little less round edge. So I'm ripping off the cut edges, and so it doesn't look so perfectly cut. I cut out my quote with my print. I printed it off on my printer. It's on paper that's a little thicker than copy paper that I love for putting my letters on. And this was a font, I can't remember the name of it, sorry, that I downloaded. It was a free font from dafont.com. So I'm drying it. Then I decide I'm going to put that netting on the rock. And I get out my bronze or copper paint, put it on with a makeup sponge, and stamp it on the rock so it looks like it's a fishing net that is lost and on the rock. And I just love how that looks. So I'm again playing with the setup and composition and deciding more precisely now where everything is going to go. So I'm just using the gel medium and applying it underneath and on top of all these circles. And I think I don't bother filming all of it because you don't need to watch me doing that. And as I'm doing this, I'm trying to think of what I'm going to outline. If I'm going to outline the bubbles and the seaweed, or what I'm going to do. So I get out my Stabilo all pencil and I've outlined the words, and here you see me activating it with a small round brush and water. If you want a perfectly precise line to outline your words or your items, Stabilo isn't the way to go. Then I get the idea that I'm going to take this iridescent medium that I bought at it's an Artist Loft brand. It's the Michaels brand. And I'm just painting it on top of all the circles. And that just brings the texture of the paper towel right to the forefront. It adds that shimmer and shine. On the camera, it looks mostly white, but it really has a beautiful shimmer to it. The color's still there, the blue is still there, and it's just that little extra something something for this page that just makes it. Using the metallics on top of anything texturized really brings out that texture. Then I get out a couple green pencils from my Inktense pencils, and I'm outlining the seaweed. I didn't want to use black because I thought that would be a little too stark, and actually it's two shades of green, because when I go to activate this, I find this is more of a blue green and I'm not exactly liking it, so I go back with a dollar green and go over it afterwards, and it mixes together and I'm quite happy in the end. But I didn't check my swatches to see what color it was, so serves me right. I'm kind of kicking myself because I didn't take a picture of the background before I had all the detail and the words on there. I would have loved to have had that so that I could put it to print it out as a postcard or as a print, or use it for some other purpose. You saw me removing the painter's tape. I put it on the side and to protect the coils, and that allows me the ability to cut this page out and frame it. I made the decision not to do both sides. I'm quite happy with that decision. I don't have to worry so much about the paint getting onto the other side and wrecking what's there. I absolutely love this page, and the background, I could have just stayed in love with the background. Forget about the words and the focal point. So here are some close-ups, and you're going to see what I mean. Here's a close-up of that top right-hand corner turned. Isn't that just complete yumminess? I'm not going to lie, that's my screensaver now on my laptop. I just love how these colors work together, all the techniques, all the layers of interest that are put in. I think this is an example where everything just works together. Again, any of the products used here, like that wonderful netting stamp, you'll find in the description box. It'll take you right to the Amazon store. One more time. I love, love that. I hope you enjoyed this page. Give me a thumbs up and share the video.